thank you guys for coming. I'm sure we may have a few stragglers, but this is the Alumni Panel. And so this is actually a chance for you guys to ask some questions to our alum, maybe about what their path has been, maybe some get some suggestions from them, just get some insight on what they have done, best practices, so on and so forth. So before we actually turn the panel over to them, I want to make sure that whenever you leave, to make sure you scan out to receive full credit for this event. So I'm going to turn it over. We're going to go ahead and have each panelist introduce themselves, maybe their name, where they're from, how long you've been with their company. So we'll go ahead and get started with Shelby.
Hi, my name is Shelby Price. I graduated from Lamar in May of 2014 from a recent alum. I have a Management Information Systems degree. I work for Geico, and I've been with the company since January of this year.
Thank you.
My name is Jared Rossi. I work here at Lamar University. I've been here since 2011. I've been in my current position here at Lamar since July 2013. I am a twice alum from Lamar. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2001, Bachelor's of Psychology. I got my master's degree in 2006 in psychology. And I'm currently about to be a 3-time alum and get my MBA in marketing.
Professional student.
Yes.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Eves. Grew up in Port Neches. I graduated from Lamar in 1989 with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree with a concentration in industrial engineering. I'm managing partner at Calvert Eves Clark and Stelly Law Firm here in Beaumont. Happy to be here.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, so when you came in, did any of you guys pick up the panel questions? Just maybe some ideas of what to ask. Sorry, I thought they were on the. I didn't give you an idea. I think I gave you two. But if you have any questions, this is now your time to ask. If you don't have to go from the sample. Last time I gave you two. Because I can go ahead and start leading it, but I have a job, so I don't really.
When you first started working here at Lamar, were you actually in your field of study?
Sort of. Well, my first job here at Lamar, I was a graduate assistant for student tutoring and retention services, as it's called now. So it was similar to psychology because we dealt with students in need. And then now I'm the assessment specialist for the Office of Planning and Assessment. And my psychology background, a lot of people don't realize psychology is based in statistics, so it does come and play in the assessment field.
Okay, well, how about you guys tell us? We'll start back with you, Mike. What's a typical day like in your organization?
Well, it just depends. I mean, the type of law we do is civil law, and I'm a defense lawyer, mainly personal injury. So we have a wide variety of clients, a wide variety of cases that we handle. We do a lot of maritime work. I represent several refineries, so any given day you could be dealing with any number of topics depending on what comes up. A lot of paperwork, not much trial work anymore. There used to be a lot more trials than there are now with arbitration and mediation. A lot less trials take place. We are in the courtroom an awful lot, though. I mean, we're litigators. A lot of hearings. I've got one tomorrow at 8. But, a lot of phone calls and a lot of paper pushing mainly every day. So.
For me, it really just depends on the time of season of Lamar, because with in my position, everybody's been here for at least a semester, so you've gotten online course evaluations. That's actually coming from me. So it just kind of, for that part of my job, I have to, download all the rosters on campus for each college, make sure they're uploaded at the right time, because we have 5-week terms, we have 8-week terms, we have 15-week terms. So I have to make sure those are launching. So that part, It's spread out, and then what I do, we have program assessments. So each academic and administrative department on campus has to write a yearly assessment report. Weave is what we call it, and I have to read all 140 of those reports, and I have to call and make sure, or email, make sure, hey, career and development, you haven't done your Weave report yet. So, I have to work with people to make sure that their reports are in. So that's a big part of the first part of the school year. So it just kind of depends on what time of the year it is for the school.
So with Geico, I am a claims adjuster, and I work in a call center environment in Houston. And so I take a lot of inbound calls, 35 maybe inbound calls a day. I have claim files that I handle and work, so I'm following up with claims. Liability adjuster, I don't know how many of you have been in an accident or involved in an accident, but whenever you had to give a statement to someone and then someone called you back and said, hey, you're at fault for the accident or you're not at fault, that's my job. So I get very happy customers sometimes, very unhappy customers sometimes. So it's definitely an interesting job. It's very fast-paced, so a day goes by pretty fast for me. And I'm also in a management program, so there's a lot of extra leadership things that we do on a daily basis there as well.
Sure, good.
Okay, there are good questions for you again.
Okay.
Why did you choose marketing now? Why not? You already have your other degree.
Because a couple reasons. One, just the challenge of getting another degree, and marketing is there's a lot of psychology to marketing. Whether you're trying to get people to buy your product, like using a lizard, a gecko, people identify products with things that make you feel good, and that's really based in psychology.
I'm a marketing.
Okay, guys, come on. Let's hear from someone else other than Thyra. Okay, you guys, do all of y'all have resumes already created? Maybe, well, not a shy bunch. There's not that many. Can you maybe speak on some many resumes that you've seen that might be kind of crazy, or what you look for on a resume? Or Mike, I'm not sure if you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I just looked at a lot last week, actually. Don't have any misspelled words. That's the main thing. I was interviewing for legal assistant, and I really rely on them a lot. And if you got a misspelled word, I mean, people make mistakes, obviously, but a resume is something you should read and then read again and then read again and make sure there's no mistakes on it, no misspelled words. When I got a bunch of resumes in, it was best that if they were short, one page, and I don't know what they're teaching now. Back 25 years ago, they were telling us one page, and okay, well, if it's more than one page, I really don't look at the second page. I may flip it over, and it's just because there's so many of them, and if you can have a really concise resume, that's what I look at. But I'm not saying that if I see a misspelled word, it's the death knell necessarily. In fact, the assistant I hired, she had a misspelled word in her resume, but everything else was really good. And when I pointed it out to her in a nice way, she was very embarrassed, and she's turned out really good. But don't have any misspelled words. I mean, that's, and if you put punctuation in it, I don't know what the style is now, but make sure your punctuation is correct too.
And that's definitely what we teach, one page. I mean, of course, if you're a seasoned professional or graduate student, that could be different. You could go to 2 pages, but we definitely say that. But when it comes from the mouth of an employer, it definitely speaks volumes versus coming, because we're like mom. You just just goes in one ear out the other, so.
Well, you know, it's just so many pieces of paper you look at, and I'm not saying, you know, I've seen some really good resumes that were 2 pages or a page and a half, but with the amount that we get, it's just better to have 1 page, a very concise 1-page resume.
Question, or I guess, can each of y'all like talk about your job search experience, like right outside of college, and if you learned anything from that, if you would have done something differently or approached it differently? And who wants to start?
Well, mine was a little out of the ordinary in that I went straight to law school, so I really didn't interview, well, I shouldn't say that. I actually did go through some interviews through the placement center here at the urging of a professor to get practice, and I'm here to tell you that the people who were interviewing me, they saw through that really quickly that I was just not really interested in the job, and it was pretty awkward. So I don't recommend that. But I didn't really, other than that, my job search didn't start until after I got out of law school. And by the time I got out of law school, I had already had a job from where I'd clerked during the summer of my 2nd year. So I really never had to go through the job search per se. And the firm that I ended up working for, I worked for them for 10 years, and then 3 of the other guys and I started our own firm, which is where we are now. So we never really had to, you know, honestly, I don't think I've ever sat in a job interview other than the ones that I did here through the placement center, you know, my senior year. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. Although I've been on the other side of the table for a lot of it, you know, but as far as doing it myself, I don't think I've ever had that.
I was fortunate enough during my undergrad to not have to work. My parents made that deal with me. And then I worked during grad school, which was, in hindsight, probably I should have done the opposite and not worked in grad school. But, I mean, I had a job in retail during high school. I mean, during my master's program, I worked at PetSmart for 5 years. And then when I got to Lamar, it just so happened that I knew someone that was looking for a graduate assistant, and I was trying to get into more professional and leave retail. So that's how I got my foot into Lamar, was as a grad assistant. And then I had to go through the hiring process when I had a professional position in Stars, and that was Lamar has a standard type of hiring process where you have to go through your resume and upload the cover letter and letter of interest, and then they always have a panel interview where you're at a table with 3 people that are just asking you questions rapid fire, and you're just like, I don't, you know. So I've gone through that process with Stars, and now with the office planning assessment. It can be nerve-wracking, but what works for me in like the interviews is, and I, as someone who has interviewed for jobs here at Lamar, is just be yourself. You know, I might be going against what they tell people, but I don't. People ask me, did you prepare? Did you think of questions they might ask you? Because I don't want to sound rehearsed, and when I'm interviewing, I don't want anyone to be rehearsed. I want you to be honest. So I just go in, I answer the questions they ask me, and so far it's worked out.
I would only add to that, go on their website, whoever you're interviewing with, go on their website and definitely learn as much information as you can about whoever it is you're interviewing with, because, you know, they may ask you a question, have you been on our website? And then you really look foolish if you say, no, it looks like you're not really interested in that position, so I'd only add that. You know.
And I would agree. So I did quite a few interviews. I graduated, like I said, in May of 2014, and then in November of 2014 was when I was hired with Geico. So in between that process, I did quite a few interviews, and I definitely would agree. Whatever company you're interviewing with, look at their website, know what they do, really know what the position that you're interviewing for, know what it is. And you know, for me as an MIS major, I was interviewing with, you know, some positions were more of like the technical side, IT side of things, and then I also, you know, I have a business degree at the end of the day, so I was also open to business general business jobs, which is more of what I ended up doing. But so I definitely would agree to know what know what the position is, know what they're asking, know what they're looking for in the person that they're going to be hiring. And to me, the biggest thing is that you are going to get asked hard questions. So rather than just try and fire one off as quick as you can, no one's going to fault you for taking a moment to gather your thoughts and give an intelligent, well put together answer, rather than just the first thing that pops into your head. That's not the first thing that popped into your head. Probably isn't the first thing that you want to say. You want to gather your thoughts and answer questions. And in all the interviews that I did, I never had anyone fault me for taking a moment to think about a question to make sure that I answered it to the best of my ability. And I had multiple kinds of interviews. I had panels. One interview, I was with 5 people in the company, and it was a coding position for a technology company in Austin. I had to get up on a whiteboard and write code, and then they picked that apart. So that was nerve-wracking. And then I also did, just question and answers with different companies. I did a lot of phone interviews and even did a few web conferences as well, which was very strange to me, very weird. But it was definitely an interesting experience. I really think that I got a lot of good experience. And then I ended up finding my job with Geico. I came to their career fair, I think it was in September of last year, and talked to a few different employers. I got 4 interviews from the career fair, worked part-time with one company, and then started full-time with Geico in January. So I had an experience. I definitely had to search for a job.
Which I will say the average student we usually see, it takes them about anywhere from 4 to 6 months upon graduation to find a job. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, I have a question that I guess would apply to each of you. But in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself going in your career? Staying the same path, advancement, changing a career path to a different kind of job, continuing education, things like that?
As an attorney, unless I went to get a master's of law degree, I'm probably, in 5 years, I'll probably be in the same position I'm in now. So I don't feel like I'm being very helpful to any of your questions, but, as a lawyer, lawyers definitely have a specific career path. You start off as an associate at a firm, or you start off at your own firm, which is very hard to do. You go out right out of law school and try to make it on your own. It's extremely difficult. Or you go into a law firm where you become an associate and they work you to death. And if you stick with it, then you'll make a junior partner, and then you keep going up. Hopefully, that's the goal. And once you reach partner, then you've kind of got an ownership interest in the firm. You don't necessarily get paid a salary. You get paid a percentage of the profits that the firm makes, which, is better than making a salary, hopefully. Or if you don't go that route, you can go to a DA's office, a district attorney's office, which a lot of people do that out of law school, because it's very competitive these days to be a lawyer. I mean, it's a lot of people go to law school, and there's not that many jobs out there. So in the DA's office, there's always going to be people committing crimes, so they're always going to need the prosecutors. And the good thing about, and I didn't go this route, I just started straight at a firm, but the people that go to the DA's office, I was saying that you don't get to trial very much in what I do. Those people, they try cases every day. Sometimes 3 cases a day they'll try, just because they have to. So you get a lot of trial experience, and most people don't stay in the DA's office forever. And once they get out, they decide to go do something else, whether it's in the civil arena or they become a criminal defense attorney. They've got that trial experience, which a lot of people don't get these days, particularly straight out of law school. So that really, really helps them a lot. But those are pretty much the 3 career paths of a young attorney. And it just depends on which one of those you take as to where you go and where you plateau out. There's a lot of people who, in the Bar Journal, you see it every month, the Bar Journal comes out, they have articles about people being dissatisfied with practicing law and just quitting. People have been doing it 30 years, they just don't like doing it anymore for whatever reason. And, they go and do different things. And the good thing about having a law degree is that it does allow you to do different things. it kind of opens the door a little bit. But, so, I mean, that's a long-winded answer to say that I'm probably gonna be in the same place in 5 years as I am right now.
Me personally, bouncing on the career student comment earlier, in 5 years I would hope to have completed a doctoral program and move from administrative side into faculty side and start teaching at the university level, which hopefully.
So with me, the management program that I'm in is a 2.5-year program. So right now I am an adjuster. There are 3 levels of adjusters above me. So I'll rotate through all of those levels, then we'll move into supervision and then management. Hopefully, management is outside of the program. So the first role of supervision is the last step in my program, and then it's from there, kind of on my own to move up in management. And Geico is a merit-based company, so there are only 2 positions in the claims office that they hire outside from. Everyone else is promoted from. You have to work your way up. I will never have a supervisor or a manager that hasn't done my job. To me, I think is very unique. It's very interesting. You know that the person that's helping you do your job has done your job. They know what they're talking about. So hopefully in 5 years, I don't know. So I'm in a new office, so I have a lot of opportunity for growth right now. Geico is a huge company. We have offices across the nation. And so if I'm open to relocating, that opens my opportunities up even more to be able to get up into the upper level supervision and management positions. And then there are also different departments of the company. With an auto insurance company, we have claims services, we have service where you're servicing policies that we already have, and then there's also sales where you're selling new policies. So there's potential to move around through all of the different companies to maximize your opportunity, I guess. So 5 years for me right now is still a little far off, but 2.5 years, I can definitely say I'll be in a supervisory position, which is really pretty unique. So I'll be 26 years old, and I'll be supervising in a large. We would be a Fortune 500 company, except we're owned by Berkshire Hathaway, who's Warren Buffett. Otherwise, we would be a Fortune 500 company for the size and profit. So that's.
Thanks.
There you go. I was going to say to be a supervisor, and just kind of plug in Geico. I think they do have some openings for like internship opportunities. So just for those of you who still are kind of unsure what you want to do or just need an internship, that's an option. Any other questions? Sure.
Okay, well, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I kind of had the same thing going on myself. When you first got out of college, how did the salary you were offered, were you somewhat disappointed, or were you elated? And what would you say to a student that is taking or considering an entry-level job, but maybe the pay is not there that they were interested in?
I worked through college. I worked part-time for Jefferson County Courthouse. So I have work experience, but I didn't have any related work experience. So I really had to apply for entry-level positions, jobs that didn't, because a lot of jobs, entry-level does require some experience even, because so many people are doing internships. And I didn't do an internship because I needed to keep my part-time job. So I didn't have that opportunity to do any internships. And so I think that for me, because when you're graduating, you want to be very optimistic. You do research and you find numbers out there. And then for me, honestly, I was disappointed at some of the salaries that I heard for entry-level positions. One of the questions on here is a range. So from what I saw, I interviewed for positions in some locally, Beaumont area, some in Austin, one in Dallas, and then now I'm in Houston. I would say the range of what I saw was $32,000 to $45,000 and that's strictly entry level, no experience.
Well, I like to look at I think I was talking to Jen earlier today about the like salary, and it's always not just about the what you make, because here at Lamar there's benefits. I mean, we have great health insurance, we have great benefits package, we get lots of time days off, so there's a lot to our pay, our overall. As far as salary, to be honest, I'm not where I would want to be, but my work schedule and my work life is very conducive to still being in school. So there's all types of things that once I'm out of school completely, I will be more picky on salaries and things like that. But to be honest, my first job when I got my master's degree, my first job here, I was an administrative associate, took $20,000 a year just because of the benefits. Because it was that or have no health insurance and things like that. So, but that's not typical. That's what but it helped me get my foot in the door to Lamar to a better paying and higher position that I have now.
Again, my experience is limited strictly to the legal field, but I'm trying to think back of when I was a brand new lawyer. I was single, I was young, I didn't have any debt. Well, I had a lot of law school debt, but otherwise, and I forget what my starting salary was, but to me it was all the money in the world. I had a Suzuki Samurai with no glass in it, all the glass had been busted out of it, and I drove that around forever. But what I would say about it is it's great to make a lot of money, but if you're working all the time, it's really, in my opinion, it's not worth it. When I was a younger associate, I had to work in order to get ahead, to become a partner and all that. You either bring in a bunch of clients or you bring in a bunch of money. And so as a young associate, I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, literally. And so when you're single and you're 25 years old, that's not a problem necessarily. But it just doesn't leave room for anything else. And so while making a good salary is it's nice, there's a lot of other things out there. And as I've gotten older, I've really realized that that's not everything. So keep that in mind. I mean, you have to have a balance. And I know when you get out of college, you've got debt and you're ready to get out there and make your mark, and you should. I mean, that should be your goal. But after a while, if you're working all the time, it really wears you down. And I don't care how much money you're making. Most people would look back and say, it really wasn't worth it because I missed this or I missed that, or I just didn't have a weekend. And I have plenty of years I look back where that's all I did, and I'm thinking, I could have been doing a lot of nicer stuff back then. But it is a trade-off because all of us wants to be successful, and we want to, do whatever it takes to be successful. So it's just finding that happy medium. And I'm 50 years old. I still haven't really found it. So it's just never-ending struggle. But don't let money be the end-all, be-all of everything. That's my advice for what it's worth. It's worth what you pay for it. So.
What other questions? Okay, so can maybe you tell us about the type of candidate maybe that you've hired or that work closely with you guys? What kind of qualities or culture, I guess, is your environment?
Okay, so like I said, I'm in a call center environment, so I work on a team of 6 people. We have a supervisor. With being in a call center is a very unique environment to be in. So multitasking is something that I was not good at, but I have now mastered. And I think the culture of our office where I work in Geico, It's very friendly, open. The manager of our office, she's an assistant vice president of the company. I think that there are 3 people above her in the hierarchy of our company. She knows my name, says hi to people when you walk through the office. So I think like he was saying, money matters, but also where you're at work, and if you enjoy being at work, if you enjoy the people that you work with. I think that that's definitely, personality is a lot of what I see in my coworkers at where I am. Like he was saying, to let your personality come through in an interview. And I definitely think that that's true with where I am. I definitely think that personality is, your personality is a huge part of being, you need to have people that can work together. And so if you come off, as someone who can't work well with others, that's something that's going to make an employer think twice about all your other qualifications, because who you are on a piece of paper isn't as important as who you are when you're actually doing the job that they're looking for. So in an interview, definitely, you want to be more than just your piece of paper that you're giving them to look at. That's why they do interviews. I mean, if that's all that mattered, why would we need interviews? They would just hire strictly from resumes. I went on a tangent.
Actually, to go along with what you just said about it's not just a resume. I was on a hiring committee for our executive assistant that we filled a couple months ago, and I didn't see the resumes or anything beforehand. I just wanted to go in and do the interviews. Our executive director picked the candidates, and then we interviewed, and I made my selection, and who I thought was the best one and the one that ended up getting the job. But she had the experience as an administrative assistant here on campus, but she didn't have the education that some of the other candidates had. So if you would have looked at just her resume, she may not have gotten that position. Now, I'm not saying that stop school or anything like that, but it's the pieces of the resume, it's the piece of your letter, it's your interview, it's all those different things. But going back to, like, our office is about 7 people. It's a small but essential part of Lamar. My supervisor, the executive director of assessment, he's the one that will put together now and through the next couple of years our accreditation report. So Lamar does not want to lose his accreditation or everything. We just kind of turn out the lights, shut up, lock the doors, and call it a day. So we don't want that to happen. And we also work with the director of the Quality Enhancement Plan, the QEP, and CTLE, which is Center for Teaching and Learning Enhancement. That's faculty development and improving faculty, which is always a good thing, better teachers. So I do the assessment kind of parts of all those types of programs. But like it's all about who you work with, because you can make all the money in the world but hate your own coworkers, and nobody wants to come to work like that. Our office, we go to eat on everybody's birthdays, or we may just say, hey, it's been a while, let's go out to lunch today just to catch up, because some part of our staff is half faculty, so they're sometimes teaching, they're not always in the office, and everybody's got their own things. So it's a pretty close-knit environment.
I think that the thing that, if I could boil it down to one thing, the one thing that I look at, whether we're looking at a new lawyer or somebody, an assistant, is a single word, and that's initiative. And that's hard to glean from an interview. It's hard to get from a resume. I've been a lawyer for about 25 years, and unfortunately I've not had that many secretaries or legal assistants. They're usually they stay for quite a while, but I've had several different types. And there was one in particular, and she actually left. She had a psychology degree and left to go to MHMR, which we joked that she had the perfect training, from our office to go to. But she was a cut above because she had this initiative that I didn't know when I hired her. And I think that could translate to any profession, any job, she would go over and above and anticipate what I would need and just do it. And sometimes it wouldn't be completely accurate, and that's fine. I just was it was so helpful for her to, because, my job, and I'm sure a lot of other jobs, you have so much stuff going on, it's hard to keep your arms around it all. So you need someone to kind of help you do that. And this one, boy, she had the initiative to just see something that needed to be done without being asked to do it. And it'd show up on my desk, and it's like, well, I don't remember asking you to do this. She said, well, you didn't, but I thought it might be helpful. And I'm like, man. And then I've had others that they're going to do exactly what you ask them to do. They'll do a good job, and that's fine. But the initiative is, that's invaluable to me. And that's something, when I was a brand new lawyer, I tried to do that with the partner I work for. We had something coming up, I try to anticipate, and you're not always right. But and I think that helped me. So it's hard to see that in a person in the brief interview period. But if you could get to have that quality and just not be scared to fail or not be scared to look stupid or whatever, and just it really makes an impression in my experience. At least it does with me. The other thing is, when we've got a small office, there's 10 people, but it is important, even with just 10 people, for everybody to get along. So you've got to have a good attitude, and that comes from enjoying what you do. If you don't enjoy what you do, you're not going to have a good attitude. And that's kind of like a cancer that, we've had one or two people that just have a sour attitude all the time, and boy, that really is bad for morale, because we really like the office to be upbeat. So enjoy what you do, and if you don't enjoy it, think about doing something else, because you're going to be miserable. You're going to make everybody around you miserable. Your family's going to be miserable, and it's just not worth it. So we try to hire people. I like to hunt and fish, and the other 3 guys like to do that. So the other 3 attorneys. So we, we're looking at lawyers. Not that we wouldn't hire someone that didn't like to hunt and fish, but if they did, it really is that link outside of work, which you need, that connection. We've had people that hated hunting and fishing, and they worked out fine. But if you have people with similar interests, it really helps things go a lot more smoothly. But initiative, that's the main thing that I look at.
And that's hard to find. It really is.
It is, and I wish she was still with me. She's not.
But yeah, like you said, it's not just the resume. It's the fit. They're actually also looking for, do you fit within their culture? And you'll find in each company, each organization, there is a different, culture everywhere. You could have like a strict professional, very quiet environment to a relaxed environment where they kid around or go to lunch all the time. I'm not saying you're relaxed, but it just varies. So it's just, what fits, because you're also interviewing the company too. So it works both ways. Some students forget that it's just a one-way street, but would you be happy in a professional environment where it's quiet, you can't speak loudly, or I'm a loud person. I would be sticking out like a sore thumb. But, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Okay, so it seems like as years go on that I think college just seems more like the next step to people, and not just dedicated people that want to pursue education farther than high school or something. And now it's kind of like a lot of people do it, so there are more and more students graduating with degrees. So networking seems to be the way people differentiate who gets jobs, who gets good jobs. Do y'all have any advice on networking y'all like to share?
It's been so long, but and back whenever I graduated, we didn't have the internet. We didn't even have computers. So networking was just all by being in organizations, campus organizations, depending on what your interests are. I went out and clerked for a law firm when I was at Lamar. I worked full-time at a law firm, actually a law firm that hired me out of law school here in Beaumont, and that was invaluable. So depending on what your profession is going to be, if you could find, and it's easier said than done in a lot of cases, but if you could find some business and just go in there, and people like that. Again, initiative. They come in and you know, a college student comes in and says, you know, I'm interested in this. I'll work for minimum wage, you know, just whatever. And then, you know, they'll either say, yeah, great, and you network that way. They say, well, we don't have anything, but you may try such and such. You know, whether it's a refinery or a, you know, whatever. And so, you know, that's how I would say to do it. I guess you can do the, I don't know if you can do the internet thing or not. I just don't know how all that works as far as networking goes. But, you know, they have LinkedIn and all that stuff. And, you know, and I think that's a pretty good networking tool. I'm on it. I probably don't use it as much as I should. I just don't really have a need for it right now. But, you know, looks to be a pretty good networking tool. Facebook and all that. But, you know, I'll caution you, and I'm going to sound like the oldest guy here, which I am. I have a 25-year-old. The social media, be super careful with that. Gosh, and y'all hear that all the time, I'm sure. I have a 25-year-old who's, you know, finding out that what you put on Facebook will come back to haunt you. It's always there. I don't care if you delete it. And, you know, if you're ever in a lawsuit and you're claiming a personal injury, don't go to your Taekwondo championship and take pictures of it and put it on your Facebook page when you're saying you can't work because you have neck problems, because I'll find it and the next lawyer will find it, and then it's hard to explain. So that's just an example of Facebook's great and all that, but gosh, it'll torpedo you so quickly. You're not supposed to, technically probably not supposed to look at social media when you're interviewing somebody. I guarantee you everybody does.
Confirm or deny, I haven't looked up on applicants, because who wants to hire someone in a professional office or a law firm and their profile picture is them doing a keg stand, you know, at graduation? I mean, that's just not professional behavior. And this assumption is that behavior will come into the workplace.
Yeah, it's just it's a stigma that'll be with you for forever, and it'll really come back to haunt you. So, you know, I know I'm the geezer up here, but it's true, and I'm glad they didn't have it when I was in high school. It would have been a big problem, but you know, so be careful with it. I'm not saying don't use it, but just be careful what you post on it. It'll bite you bad. So I didn't mean to get on that tangent, but it is important, and it is it's something that people look at. You know, whether you're interviewing or not. So sometimes that's, you know, people go to a website, you know, to see about the company they're interviewing with. A lot of times employers will go to Facebook, you know, before an interview and look and see what's on it. And
Or type
either
your name
good or
into
bad.
Google. They've done that. Type your name into Google. I don't know if you guys have done that. Typed your name to see if anything comes up. That's another thing. So,
Yeah.
any networking?
I can speak more on networking for schools, and because like I said, my education goals aren't over. For instance, this summer I went to Germany with study abroad. I met the international student coordinator at Zeppelin University, which is our sister school in Germany. And through that networking, I've emailed professors in Germany to see about getting my PhD internationally. So, and that goes with the initiative to, anybody can submit applications to grad school or doctoral program, but when you take the time out to get to know professors personally as best you can through email, or I know of a student that flew to North Carolina to meet with a professor, that just shows the initiative and that you're serious, and it's going to make your name stick out when there's 400 applicants and they have room for 5, and they're going to say, oh, so-and-so, they're the ones that came to visit, and they're the ones that have this research topic and things like that. So that's my expertise in networking, more so than on the professional side.
I guess didn't really have any networking opportunities. I think with internships, a lot of times that kind of gets your foot in the door. So I think that if you're able to do an internship, I personally would recommend doing an internship. Coming from someone who didn't do an internship, I would recommend it. So with networking, I don't think that I really have anything to give. But one thing that I will recommend that I think put me above, because as you said, most everyone is going to college now. You know, college degrees aren't as rare as they were. So one thing that I think made me stand out as prospective employee, when I didn't have any work experience, I was very involved on campus. I worked part-time, 4 years, all 4 years that I was in school, I worked part-time, at least 25 hours a week, sometimes as much as 32 hours a week, depending on my semester. So I was there 4 years, and that shows if I can keep a part-time job in 4 years from college, while I'm in college, I'm not likely to take a job and leave in a year. I was able to hold down a job in college, and then I also kept my GPA up. My GPA was not stellar, was not a 4.0 student, but I had a good GPA, and so I think that, that showed that I was able to balance a lot, and in my organizations on campus, I wasn't only a member, I held positions, and so I was able to give a lot of experience to that. Being a leadership in organizations on campus gave me a lot of experience that I can translate to work experience. If in an interview, if I was asked a question, how would you handle this situation? I can say, I encountered this situation in this, in this organization or at my part-time job, and this is how I handled it. So being involved really gave me a lot of, kind of gave me a step up. I think it was more than just that I had a college degree. I had a lot of experience, and I was very involved in the College of Business whenever I was here, and I was able to put Dean Venta as a reference on my resume. So I guess maybe that can count as networking. I knew, so the people that you are involved with in college, if there's a professor that's the faculty advisor for your organization, that's someone that you can put on a resume. And a lot of companies, they do call your references, and so if you're able to list a professor and a prospective employer calls them and they say, yes, I have this person, they were an officer in this organization, I had them in class, I remember them, this is what I can tell you about them, that gives you a leg up on other people who just have a college degree.
And I would definitely have to agree with Mike as far as organizations definitely do help with networking. Any questions? Okay, I have a question. If you had to start over, do it all over again, is there anything you would change? Or if maybe someone could give you a tip while you're college students, what advice would you give?
If I could change anything, I wouldn't probably waste my first 2 years being a biology major and drop my GPA to a little less than 2.5. So me and organic chemistry didn't get along, and I was too stubborn and prideful to drop it. I was like, I can pass. Obviously, I didn't. So I would have probably just listened to my mom from the get-go and been a psychology major because she knew that's what I liked. But I wouldn't condone majoring in something because I'm going to be a business major, I'm going to be an engineer because that's what my dad does, or that's what I was expected. Find something that you have passion for. And in my graduate, and the master's program in psychology is supposed to be 2 years. I condensed it into 5. So I would probably go back and tell myself, put the video games down and work on your thesis. So that's what I would tell myself.
I think one thing that I found was I didn't think about what kind of job that I wanted until after I graduated. So that was a big part of, I think, me the delay in finding a job, because I had not thought about it at all. I just kept saying, I'm going to have a degree, and this is what it is. So these are the kind of jobs that I can get. But then I started looking at it, and I didn't know if I really wanted to do any of those jobs. So I definitely would, it's more than just you decide on your degree, you decide on your concentration, but then look into what opportunities that provides to you. Because I got lucky having a business degree. I'm not utilizing my MIS degree at this time, which if any of you are MIS majors, I'm not knocking it because it is a good degree. You can do a lot of things with it, but it does take you knowing what you want to do with it. And so having the business degree, I was able to get into this management program, and so that kind of saved me a little bit, but I had no idea what I wanted to do, and that really delayed me even looking for jobs to start applying because I didn't know what I was looking for. So that's what I would do differently.
I probably wouldn't do anything differently. I wanted to be a lawyer since as far back as I can remember. member, and I love what I do. I enjoy it. It's interesting, and it's hard work, but it's I really, really enjoy it. My little girl, she's 12. She sees how hard I work, and she says she does not want to be a lawyer. But and I'm not encouraging her to be a lawyer. But the only advice I have, and I can go to my 26-year-old, is, and it just echoes what she said, just know what you want to do. Start figuring it out. He's 26 and he still hasn't figured out what he wants to do. And he's, he's finding his way, but it really makes it hard because you reach a point at which it gets harder and harder for someone to look at a person who's 28 and never had a real job and say, well, why now? What's changed all of a sudden? So, I mean, you all have degrees you're working toward. That's great. You know what kind of degree you're going to have, but just do research and figure out what you want to do with it and have a plan and have a goal, because graduation will be here before you know it, and it'd be good to have things, to the extent you can, lined out after graduation. As far as what you want to do. You may not have a job lined up, but you have it in your mind, this is what I want to do. I've done research, and this is how I want to apply my degree. You have to have a plan, and I'm big on plans, and so that would be my only advice for what it's worth.
Now, we just, for me personally, I would have a contingency plan. Because if you'd asked me when I was getting my undergraduate degree, where I'd be at 33, I would tell you have a faculty position with my PhD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But things happen, things get delayed. I haven't decided not to do it because I'm getting older, but there's no age limit on a PhD. But I figured I would have had it before 30.
Yes, sir.
I had a question for Mr. Eves. So, you said right now you're a partner?
Yes.
Okay. So, how did your responsibilities change at each level from, you said you started clerking all the way up to what you do now as a partner at a firm?
That's a good question, because that kind of, your responsibilities change and your pay changes, everything changes. When I was a runner during Lamar, I mean, all I did was make copies, file things to the courthouse, but at the same time, I was able to just absorb it all. I knew what a pleading was, I knew what discovery was, I knew what all the different aspects were, just kind of by osmosis. I was there 4 years, so I just learned it. So when I went to law school, it made law school, the terms and everything weren't foreign to me like they were to most of the other students. When you get out as an associate, you get paid a flat amount. You get paid that amount whether the firm's doing well or not. The firm gets sued for some reason, or there's some sort of liability incurred by the firm. You, as an associate, as an employee of the firm, you don't have to worry about that because you're not an owner of the firm. The way to progress, like I said, is you either bill a bunch of hours and make a lot of money for the firm, or you develop a client base, and that's the best way to progress from an associate up to a partner. And if, most firms, back when I was an associate, it'd be 5 to 7 years was the partnership track. And so once you become a partner, things kind of change insofar as you don't make a salary per se anymore. You make, your income per month changes depending on how well the firm is doing. But your percentage is usually big enough to where you're making substantially more than you were as an associate, the base salary. The downside, of course, is that the liabilities, the firm gets sued for some reason, and you're kind of on the hook as a partner. So you actually own part of the firm. As a partner, you're not really doing as much of the research and brief writing, whatnot. You're more developing business. You're seeing clients. You're just trying to make the firm grow. Although with only 4 lawyers, I have to say that we're all partners at our firm. We still do a lot of research. I enjoy brief writing. I like doing research and writing. So in motions, it doesn't bother me to do the work that's traditionally done by associates. We have one partner there, Frank, who actually is graduated from Lamar. He's 60. He's a more seasoned lawyer. He hates writing briefs. So if he needs something written, usually one of the other 3 will do it. But In a bigger firm, the responsibilities change insofar as if you're an associate, you just do what the partner tells you to do, and you go to the next assignment. You don't have a case that you're handling, really. Whereas a partner gets the cases, and they've got the case from the beginning, and they work on it all the way to the end. And that may involve letting associates do different aspects of the case, research, take depositions, whatever. But ultimately, the buck stops with the partner, and if anything happens, it's going to be the partner that's going to be responsible for it. So while your pay increases as you become a partner, certainly your responsibilities increase and your liability increases. So.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, it looks like we kind of come to the end of the hour, so we'll go ahead and end it here. If there's not any other questions, last chance. All right, well, okay, well, thank you guys. You gave us some really good advice. And if you all would help, thank you very much.
And if y'all, any of y'all ever need anything, and I'm not trying to get business here, because that's not how we defense lawyers do it, but if you ever have a question about the legal profession, I'll give you my phone number. Just write this down. It's 832-8885. It's Mike Eves. And, you know, if you ever have a question about anything, just